Hello, STEM Nation. Jeff here, and welcome to episode number 30 of STEM on Fire, where we interview practicing professionals in the area of science, technology, engineering, and math to help guide students interested in STEM careers. If you like what you hear on this podcast, I ask that you please share it with a friend. Now let's get fired up today with our guest, Kerrie, and I hope our chat will help ignite your passion towards a STEM career. With her Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Kansas in chemical engineering with an environmental emphasis, Kerrie has dedicated her career to technical excellence and project management, resulting in tremendous success as a professional leader. Kerrie is a very active member in the Society of Women Engineers, or SWE, the American Water Works Association, along with many other professional organizations. With more than 18 years of experience in water and wastewater treatment, currently serves as the Department Manger for Burns and McDonnell's Municipal Water Division in Kansas, working on water and wastewater treatment processing projects. Welcome to the show, Kerrie. Fill in any gaps and share a bit of your personal life.
Sure. Well, thank you, Jeff, for having me today. And again, I'm Kerrie Greenfelder, and I am currently, like Jeff just said, a department manager for Burns and McDonnell in our water group. And we're actually on the Missouri side, so that's Kansas City, Missouri, is where our headquarters resides. Just a little more about me. I do have a passion for water. I am one of those unique individuals working in the water field. I actually work on kind of both sides. I do some drinking water work as well as wastewater treatment and a little bit in between with water reclamation. And so I'll give another shout out, not just to Burns and McDonnell, but also Society of Women Engineers has really provided opportunities for me to meet the others, in my fields and continue to share that passion for water. So I'm excited to answer some of your questions today and move this podcast along. So thanks for having me, Jeff.
Yep, you're welcome, Kerrie, and welcome aboard. And I'm going to start with a question. I've had chemical engineers on the podcast, and I've had environmental engineers coming from the civil route. And you have a chemical engineering degree with an environmental focus. Could you explain kind of the differences between those different degrees?
Sure. And so the way my degree is sort of set up here is I have the foundational experience as a chemical engineer. So chemical engineers, if you think, a lot of process engineering, thermodynamics, fluids, kinetics. And so I had the traditional chemical engineering training. And then on top of that, I had additional training related to the environmental field. And so that's really where I started to specialize into water, both on the drinking water and the wastewater side. And so a little more emphasis on the chemical and biological principles related to environmental engineering. So my degree is kind of a combination of both of those. And so I received that degree from the University of Kansas and was the first graduating class to actually have that kind of focused degree. And I'm happy to report that University of Kansas still has that as an option for students going to KU. So exciting.
So, Kerrie, you've got a chemical engineer degree with the environmental focus. What kind of jobs are available for somebody coming in with that type of degree, chemical with an environmental focus, versus coming in with civil with an environmental focus? What kind of jobs could you do with one but not the other?
Sure, that's a great question, Jeff. And I actually get that question a lot. Why would you go down a traditional chemical engineering route instead of a civil engineering route? And the specialty is really in understanding more of the chemistry and the biological principles of drinking water and wastewater. And so a lot more of a focus for chemical engineers can be on, water and wastewater treatment and really diving much deeper into the chemistry and understanding the treatment technologies and how to apply those. That's where a degree of my background in chemical engineering with the environmental focus really helps you succeed and really just better understanding, the treatment of drinking water and wastewater. And one thing I'll add to that is, we see a lot more, chemistry in our day-to-day lives. Think of all the different medications people take. For instance, my husband takes a allergy medication every single day. Well, that ends up in our, drinking water and our wastewater supply. And so having a detailed process background and a chemical engineering background has really helped me dive deeper into, how do you treat that? How do you work with some of these, I'll say, new things that are in our water?
Kerrie, thanks for that great overview. And we're going to get very specific here. What is your area of expertise?
My day-to-day job, what I do is just that, drinking water and wastewater treatment. And so I start sometimes at the very beginning, concept design, and kind of identifying, how can we solve the water challenges for a community. So I mostly work with municipalities and cities. And so I work a lot with public works departments and helping them solve their drinking water and wastewater challenges. And so I do everything from kind of the site assessment, concept design, all the way through detailed design and construction, implementation, operations, and startup. And so one of the beauties of what I do is I say this all the time. I've never had the same day twice in almost 20 years. Every project I do is custom. Every solution we find is unique and different. And so it's been a pretty exciting career to be involved in all those different challenges and all those different stages of a project. And I've had a hand in all of them.
So you kind of touched on something. You've never had the same day twice, and there really is no typical workday, but could you describe for STEM Nation kind of what you would do from a day-to-day or week-to-week basis?
Again, I really haven't had the same day twice, and so I'll kind of give a variety of an answer here. I not only spend some of my time in the office, I do a lot of collaboration and working with other engineers, and that's all different disciplines of engineers. So I communicate with structural engineers, architects, electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, process engineers almost every day. Sometimes I am called to the field, and so I will go to job sites that are maybe under construction, and I do some inspection work where I kind of, see how things are being built and making sure they're adhering to our concepts and our designs. Other days I'm communicating with clients, and so I spend a fair amount of my day on the telephone talking with clients and almost brainstorming and trying to figure out solutions to their needs. And so my work has taken me all over the United States. It could be all over the world if I elected to do that, but I spend, a fair amount of my time traveling and going to new places, and wherever, our water needs are, that's where it takes me.
Yeah, STEM Nation, Kerrie hit on something there. She was talking about interfacing with structural engineers and electrical engineers and mechanical engineers. These disciplines end up being very interdisciplinary, meaning that you need to have some knowledge of pretty much every engineering discipline. So when you're in college and you're taking a class and you're thinking, this doesn't really apply to my major. I'm a chemical engineer. Why do I need to know about electronics? It's because you're going to be interfacing with those engineers on a day-to-day basis in your career. So, learn as much as you can and enjoy it, and you're going to utilize that out in the real world. And Kerrie, what is one thing that really has you fired up in the environmental area or chemical area or any area?
Sure. I will tell you, water is one of the more exciting fields, at least in my opinion, in the engineering work world. And, water is one of those things as a natural resource. We all need it. We all use it every day. And yet we think very little about what it takes to get clean water, to your house or, your community. And so something that really just, gets me fired up is we're seeing a lot of new technologies and new ways to, provide cleaner water. And I love being on the forefront of some of these new technologies and applying them and creating new treatment plants for our communities in the United States. And another aspect that really has me fired up is water reclamation and water reuse. Just seeing some recent news about Cape Town over in South Africa where they're running out of water. We always hope that something like that will never happen to us, yet it's happening in our world. And so finding better solutions and solving those challenges for water reclamation and water reuse. I love being involved with that, and I love helping communities solve their problems.
The water use and water runout, the way I understand it, I don't know if this is correct or not, but the aquifers that are running under the ground throughout the United States, my understanding is that water level is dropping. Is that true?
That is true, well, at least for parts of our world here. Something I teach when I do a lot of outreach for K through 12 students, and you're welcome to visit the Burns McDonnell website at burnsmcd.com. We have a lot of resources related to this, but one thing that I love to teach to everyone is we have one supply of water on this planet, and so it really is this precious resource. And so changing the ways we use water for not just human consumption in day-to-day life, but also for agriculture and industry, we're seeing some shifts in the way we do things to stop depleting these aquifers. And there are new technologies and new processes available in the engineering world, such as in Wichita, Kansas. They actually have an aquifer recharge where they put treated water back into the ground to help keep those aquifers from depleting any greater than they are now.
Interesting. I didn't know that was even possible, but I guess so. You can pump water anywhere you want. So, Kerrie, we're going to go back in time to an aha moment you've had, something that might help our STEM nation. Could you take us to a moment in time of an incredible aha moment you've had at work or your personal life and tell us a story and how you turned that aha moment into success?
Sure. One of the stories that came to mind related to my big aha moment. I resided in Albuquerque, New Mexico for about 15 years of my career. One of my areas of expertise was arsenic removal from groundwater. I was actually a designer, planner, resident representative, so I got to be on a job site and build a brand new water treatment plant to remove arsenic from the groundwater. This particular plant was the first of its kind in New Mexico. It was a coagulation microfiltration facility, and so what that means is the arsenic in the groundwater, we use a chemical to bind the arsenic and then filter it out of the supply. And so the resultant water is clean drinking water, potable water. And so it was a pretty exciting opportunity for me. I was pretty young in my career to not just be the designer, but be on site every day while it was constructed. And really where the aha moment was for me, after we had the ribbon cutting and the startup of the facility, my home was actually not even a mile away from this facility. And turning on the tap and drinking the water that, I was in charge of and I helped design and I helped treat and clean, that water came right to my house. That was my aha moment. I thought that was, kind of got to see the we say from, almost cradle to grave. I got to see the entire project, and it was pretty fulfilling for me. So I consider that my aha moment and really seeing what I can do come to life.
That sounds like great experience right out of college, it sounds like. Did the chemical engineering degree really help with that? Would you have been able to do that with a civil engineering / environmental focus?
I think the challenging part for a civil engineer really would have been the chemistry side of the coagulation process itself. I was actually doing chemical equations and redox reactions during the design phase to figure out the right levels of chemicals to add to the water. And so, sure, a civil engineering degree would have been just as helpful. A lot of the process required fluid dynamics and some site civil work as well. And so I think, it really took a handful of engineers to bring that project to fruition. And again, I'll say, every day I worked with the different discipline engineers and learned more about electrical instrumentation, controls, HVAC and plumbing. And I couldn't have done that and been able to, bring that project to success without a better understanding of those. And so I'll say my answer to your question, Jeff, is it took all of us to make that project a success.
Absolutely. It takes everybody. You're not going to do it alone, that's for sure. And Kerrie, we're going to go on to something that is front and center on STEM Nation, heading off to college, because these degrees are not easy, especially chemical engineering. It's one of the most difficult ones, in my opinion. Could you take us back to when you were 18, heading off to college, some things that you wish you knew back then or even knew back then that would help our STEMers launch into college successfully?
Sure. I would say one of the first ones is to study, 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 and read those textbooks. I was pretty fortunate in high school where I was one of the smarter kids in class, and I didn't do a lot of my textbook reading, and I still ended up with pretty good grades. That was a bit of a shock to me when I got to college that I needed to read my textbooks because the professor standing at the front of the class was certainly not going to cover all the material in the chapter. And so I started to fall behind by not reading my textbooks, but quickly realized I needed to pick that up and read those textbooks and better understand everything. The second thing I would say is practice a little bit of writing. We don't talk much in engineering, at least at the collegiate level, of communicating your message and communicating your designs and your intent. And part of my day-to-day job is writing reports and technical memos and conveying my ideas and my message on paper. And so I'd encourage students to take a writing class. If a technical writing class is available, sign up for it. It will certainly help you in your future career.
So, Kerrie, you're a manager at Burns and Mac, and I assume that you might be involved with the hiring process. Could you give some tips to folks leaving college, heading off into their careers that would help them be successful?
Absolutely. Something I look for as a hiring manager when bringing new graduate engineers on board is I not only look at their grades and how well they performed, in their school careers, but I also look to see, what are they doing outside of their college careers? Are you involved in organizations? Better yet, leading those organizations? What new initiatives, new ideas have you brought to the university or, say, your sorority or fraternity? I also look to see, what are you doing in your community? Are you involved in public projects or public betterment projects and type of community service type projects? And I look for some of those things because, yes, while classical engineering, we have to get the work done from day to day, a lot of what we also do is in our community. I send a lot of folks to public meetings and different presentations, technical organizations. And so we have to be able to communicate what we're doing. And I'll tell you, that's so much easier to do when you've had a little bit of experience doing it at the collegiate level. And so during the college years, don't hesitate to sign up, be involved in other organizations, and kind of stretch yourself beyond the School of Engineering or wherever you find yourself and get some of those other, I'll say, real world type experiences.
Thanks, Kerrie, for that great advice for STEM Nation. And we're going to take a quick pause and thank our sponsor, Audible, who's offering a free audiobook. You can head over to STEMOnFireBook.com. That's STEMOnFireBook.com to get a free audiobook of your choosing. If you decide to cancel within 30 days, there's no cost, and you keep the audiobook. And Kerrie, are you ready for the lightning round?
I am.
What is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Never say no. Especially early in your career, somebody advised me to take every assignment that came my way, no matter what that assignment was. And so I have shoveled piles of dirt. I have cleaned up sticky electrocoating paint that was inadvertently spilled. I have done many different tasks that other people were not willing to raise their hand and do. And I like to say that by doing all of those tasks, I've just put more tools in my toolbox.
And what is a personal habit that contributes to your success?
I am one of those rare individuals. I do not watch TV. And so the only things that I do watch on TV are sort of the current events that occur, periodically on the news. But other than that, I use my time to better my knowledge or be with my family.
And what's your favorite internet resource or phone app and why?
I love weather.com's app. I am just fascinated with the changes in weather. Something I love to do, I do this about once a week or so, is I try to figure out where the coldest temperatures are and the hottest temperatures are on any given day.
And if you had to pick one book to recommend, which would it be and why?
I recommend The Hobbit by Tolkien. Just a wonderful adventure, fascinating adventure, and it really talks about teamwork and working together toward a common goal.
And Kerrie, as we wrap up here, could you share a parting piece of guidance for STEM Nation, and then we will say goodbye?
I encourage all the folks listening today to, follow your dreams. A piece of advice that my father gave me early in my career was you will end up working 60% of your life. And so enjoy what you do, follow those dreams, and be the engineer that you can be.
All right, Kerrie, and with that, we will say goodbye.
Right. Thank you, Jeff.
I hope you enjoyed our discussion today with Kerrie. Head on over to STEMonfire.com, subscribe to the email list to keep up with the latest happenings, and be sure to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast player. And again, if you are getting value from this podcast, please share it with a friend. Tune in next week where we talk with Dana, who is a sales engineer. Until next time, I hope this chat has helped ignite your passion towards a STEM career.